start na tayo. Okay. Ayan, so let's start. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sige.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, please mute your microphone first. So, magandang buhay. This is our first session for the first quarter of Q1. So, the schedule of our please mute your microphone. Okay, so the schedule of our online classes for TLE10 under me, Ma'am Rio, is every Tuesday 3 p.m. So I think wala namang ibang teachers na nag-schedule ng Tuesday, right? Okay, so I think if there are conflict of schedule with you during your online classes, please inform me so that I could adjust. Okay? So, let's start. So, virtual classroom etiquette. So, into our face-to-face na klase, meron tayong mga patakaran, isn't it? So, now we have virtual classroom etiquette. First, do not talk or make noise while the discussion is still ongoing. For example, I'm still discussing. I'm still talking. So please make sure that you do not make any noise so that your other classmates may still hear me, okay? Number 2, listen. So your essence of being present here in our online class is to listen, to pay attention, and for you to learn. Number 3, make sure to participate in the discussion. So if I'm going to ask you to answer, huwag kang mahihiya. Okay? Do not be shy kasi if you have an answer into your mind, at least you can share it to your classmates. Okay? So I'll be asking you to send your thumbs up or heart reaction in the middle of our discussion so that I know kung nakikinig pa kayo. Huwag niyong tutulugan, sayang yung data or wifi, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think that you have with you your TLE9. Okay, please stop me writing anything on the screen. Okay, so sabi dito, you can find this into your module sa quarter 1, week 1. Nakikita nyo dyan. So, baking is a highly profitable business. Ibig sabihin, it can be your business. For example, during this pandemic, no? So, during this pandemic, you can use baking or for example, natuto kang gumawa ng banana bread, natuto kang gumawa ng cookies. So, that's baking, isn't it? So, you can make profit out of it, okay? So, pwede mo siyang pagkakitaan. As a student, you can develop your baking skills for the purpose of having an enjoyable hobby. It can be your hobby. Ano ba yung hobby? Yun yung ginagawa mo yun na nag-e-enjoy ka, na hindi ka nai-stress. Or make it your stepping stone to entrepreneurship. So, di ba, napakaganda ng mga words, hobby, tapos stepping stone for entrepreneurship. Ibig sabihin, you're making money out of your enjoyment. Okay, it is important that you know the different factors to consider in baking breads. Aside from accurate measurement and appropriate use of equipment, correct methods of combining ingredients must be taken into consideration. So in here, kung face-to-face, I will show you on how to measure ingredients correctly using the correct measuring tools. Okay? So that is very important. Sa lahat ng bagay, kailangan tama ang timbang. Okay? Next. The techniques used to combine ingredients affect the final volume, appearance, and texture of the baked goods. Some of the results of accurate mixing are even distribution of ingredients. Blended or emulsified fats and liquid form gluten and well-leavened dough. So those were the results of accurate mixing. So you can find this on page 3, I think, of your module. So here, baking terminologies. Baking blind. So what is baking blind? So let's roulette. Tignan nga natin. Angel, please read.
Baking blind. This is the process of partially or fully baking a pastry case in the oven without the filling. Line a tart tin with pastry. Cover it with greaseproof paper and weight it down with ceramic baking beans or dried chickpea. Beans or lentils. Bake, baking blind is ideal if you have a no cook filling, a filling that needs little cooking or is cooked at a low temperature. It ensures a crisp finish.
Okay, so baking blind. This is a process of partially or fully baking pastry case. Ano ba yung pastry case? For example, sa egg pie. Okay, yung crust niya, yung tinapay niya. Okay, so yun yung i-bake mo muna. That is baking blind. So as you can see in the picture, so yung part na to, ito yung pastry na binibake mo muna. Tapos ito yung palaman niya. Okay, so that is baking blind. Next, beating. This is the rigorous mixing of ingredients using a wooden spoon, electric whisk, food mixer, or food processor. The purpose is to thoroughly combine ingredients to incorporate air, making cake and fluffy. So, yung purpose of beating, for example, nag-beat ka ng eggs. Isn't it? What are you using in beating eggs? You can use square whisk and you can also use fork. Okay, kapag gumagawa ka ng scrambled egg. Okay, so that way you are incorporating air into your eggs. Same with making cakes. Gumagawa tayo ng merang. It's not meringue, it's merang. So kapag gumagawa ka ng merang and then you're going to add the merang into your butter, you will have a fluffy and light cake. So that process is called beating. Next, we have creaming. What is creaming? Alwin.
Creaming. This is
Alvin?
the use to baking for beating sugar and softened butter together form lighter.
Sorry, nawala siya. Yeah, proceed.
Creaming. This is the term used baking for beating sugar and softened butter together to form a lighter colored mixture to ease ingredient. This is one of the way to add lightness and volume to cakes.
Okay. So sabi dito, this is the term used in baking for beating. Ayan. Used in baking for beating sugar and softened butter. So when you bake, okay, pinagmi-mix dito, creaming yung tawag kapag pinag-mix yung butter and sugar together. So it is part of preparing your wet ingredients. Next, curdling. Curdling is when a food mixture separates into its component. Curdling happens usually, for example, nilagay mo yung egg, malamig pa siya. So, for example, naglagay ka yung egg and butter. Yung butter mo is melted and then you're going to add the egg and sugar into it. So, yung result nun, magka-curd siya. So, that's one of the problem in baking. Others, hindi siya maganda. So, you must, wait lang admit lang natin to. Okay. So you can, sabi niya dito, it can be brought back by adding a tablespoon of flour. So, for example, in preparing your wet ingredients in baking, okay? So, makakorek mo yon through adding your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients. So, that is curdling. Pag nakita nyo yung example na yan na nasa photo, that is an example of curdling. Next, dusting or dredging. Ito yung for example, i-bake mo na siya. You're going to get a baking pan, okay? Tapos lalagyan mo siya ng oil or flour. Bakit? Because to stop, for example, ayaw mo siyang dumikit, to stop it from sticking, okay? This involves sprinkling sugar or spices over a food as a decoration. It can also use as a decoration. A recipe may also ask you to dust. For example, sinabi ng teacher mo, sinabi ko, or sinabi ng recipe, dust the pan or dust your dough. Okay, a work surface with flour or icing sugar to stop dough or fondant icing from sticking. So yun yung gagawin mo. Mag-i-sprinkle ka lang ng flour. Kung kailangan ng flour, sugar yung pinapa-sprinkle niya. Okay, next. Folding in. Anong klaseng cake ang usually ginagamitan ng method na to? It is the chiffon cake. Kasi gumagamit ka ng merang. So bakit? So basahin natin. Technique used to gently combine a light, airy ingredient. So, ibig sabihin, gumawa ka ng merang. Di ba yung explain ko kanina, you're going to beat the egg whites and then it will form into a merang. And then you're going to have your butter. Okay. Anong iuuna mong ilalagay sa bowl? Anong ililipat mo? Yung merang ba o yung butter? Okay. So, in here, sabi niya, technique used to gently combine a light, airy ingredient with a heavier one. So, ibig sabihin, mas ilalagay mo yung merang doon sa iyong butter. And then you have to do folding in. Bakit folding in? The lighter mixture is poured on the top of the heavier one in a large bowl. Starting at the back of the bowl, metal spoon is used to cut down vertically through the two mixtures. Ginagawa to para hindi ma-breakdown yung softness or yung air. Okay, di ba in-aerate natin yung eggs kasi binit natin sila. Ginagawa natin yung folding in para hindi mawala yung air doon sa ating mixture. Para maging fluffy pa rin siya when baked. So that's the reason why we fold in our butter. Next, baking terminologies is icing. Sino hindi alam ang icing? All of us may know it, right? Okay, I need a thumbs up from you. So icing, there are several different ways. There are several different ways to ice a cake. Sabi niya dito, icing is a term used both for the action of covering a cake and for the covering itself. Icing is sometimes called frosting, particularly in American recipe. So here we have the popular icings. So first, yung icing sugar, buttercream, cream cheese, fondant icing, and royal icing. So those are the examples of icing. Next, sifting. Sifting, this is the method of passing through. This is the method of passing flour, cocoa, or icing sugar through a sieve to remove lumps and aerate it. So why do we need to sieve? We need to sieve our ingredients so that mapiprevent natin, for example, yung flour mo meron ng amag or meron siyang dumi. So you can remove or prevent that dumi from coming into your cake through sifting it. Most cake recipes will suggest you to sift these ingredients for best results. Also, when the recipe is asking you to sift the ingredients all together, meaning they want you to incorporate or mix correctly and properly your ingredients. Next, what is mixing methods in baking? Okay, the point of mixing, kanina we have talked about the baking terminologies. So ngayon we will be talking about the mixing methods. So kanina, the terminologies are discussed. So now, the mixing methods or kung ano ba yung different kinds of mixing techniques ang kailangan natin malaman in baking kasi in baking, hindi lang forget may recipe ka na, magbe-bake ka na. Hindi. So you must know the terminologies included into it. Kasi it contributes to the success of your baked products. Okay, so there are 9 different methods for mixing. Next, beating. Tulad nung kanina. Beating, this is the process of creating air or gluten by quickly mixing ingredients. You can accomplish this by using a spoon or the paddle attachment on a mixer. So, why do we need to beat? First is to create air and gluten. Kapag gusto natin mag-create ng air sa eggs, we're going to beat the eggs. If we want gluten to be formed or the protein into our dough to be formed, we must do beating. Next, blending. Blending. Please read. Hanap ako dito. Charles Carchosa. Please read blending. Charles.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Oh, pakibasa.
Yung ano, ma'am?
Blending. Hindi ka nakikinig, no?
Di ma'am, may na internet eh.
Okay.
This is used to distribute the ingredients in a batter or mixture evenly. Several tools can be used to blend a mixture. You can use a spoon, rubber spatula, whisk, or the paddle attachment on mixer.
Okay, so thank you. Sabi dito, this is used to distribute the ingredients in a batter or mixture evenly. So you have to blend them. Are you going to use a blender? No. You have to use this utensils like the spoon, the rubber spatula, the whisk, or the paddle attachment on a mixer. Next, creaming. Same with what we discussed kanina, creaming. This is when you incorporate air while combining softened fats and sugar. Use the paddle attachment on the mixer on medium for creaming. What if wala kang mixer? So you can use your wire whisk or you can use your spatula in creaming your butter and sugar. Next, cutting. Sige. In cutting, makibasa ni Yuki.
This is done to mix fats into dry ingredients, such as butter into pie dough. Depending on your final product, you can cut a mixture with a pastry cutter, your fingers, or the paddle attachment on your mixer.
Okay, so this is done to mix fats into dry ingredients such as butter or into pie dough. For example, gagawa ka ng tart. Kaya gagawa ka ng kanina, yung pie crust. So you're going to cut, okay, you cut your butter into the flour. So imimix mo yung butter mo into the flour. That's called cutting. Depending on your final product, you can cut a mixture with a pastry cutter, your fingers, or the paddle attachment on your mixer. Next, folding. Yan yung kanina. Folding is used to mix delicate ingredients like whipping cream or whipped eggs into a dough or butter. Same with what I have discussed kanina. When making a chiffon cake, you have a butter and the meringue. Okay? Yung butter is a mixture of dry and liquid ingredients. Okay? Meringue is a beaten egg whites. Ibig sabihin, egg whites lang yan, lalagyan ng cream of tartar to create a meringue. Okay, kapag gagawa ka ng chiffon cake, you're going to combine your meringue into your butter. So it should be delicate. So you have to be very careful. Bakit? Kasi para hindi mawala yung air o yung hangin na nilagay natin doon sa meringue natin, na ini-incorporate natin sa ating butter so that our finished product will be fluffy. Magiging mamon siya. Next, kneading. What is kneading, Ralph Garcia? Ralph?
Saan po, ma'am?
Kneading.
This is done to create gluten in your product. Gluten provides the structure for your finished product. Use a dough cook for kneading. If you must, do it by hand. For vigorously in rimmed to encourage the gluten forming process.
Okay, so sabi dito, kneading is done to create gluten in your product. Ano ba yung gluten? It is the protein found into our bread. Gluten provides the structure. Siya yung nagpapatigas for your finished product. Use a dough hook for kneading. If you must do it by hand, fold vigorously in a rhythm to encourage the gluten forming process. Ano ba yung ninid na mga products? Usually, yun yung pandesal, yung mga breads. Yung hindi yung quick breads, for example, pandesal, donuts, yan, yung mga nininid natin yung dough. Okay? So, here pala, we have butter and dough. Butter, B-A-T-T-E-R. And we have dough, D-O-U-G-H. So, what is the difference between the two? Kapag sinabing butter, it is thin in consistency. Ibig sabihin, watery siya. You cannot knead the butter. But a dough, you can knead it. Okay? Knead, hindi. Masa, hindi yung kailangan, ha? Next, sifting. As we have discussed a while ago sa terminology, sifting a process to remove lumps from dry ingredients and aerate the ingredients. Next, we have stirring. Alice, Ashley, please read. Eliza.
This is mixing the ingredients by hand using a rubber spatula, spoon, or
Whisk. Okay, so stirring is mixing the ingredients by hand using a rubber spatula, spoon, or whisk. For example, gumagawa ka ng yemas para sa iyong brazo de Mercedes. Okay, so you're going to use a spatula in mixing your ingredients, in cooking your food, in cooking your filling. Okay, so you have to stir. Next, we have whipping. This is when you beat a mixture vigorously to incorporate air. Same with beating. Okay. To whip a mixture such as American buttercream icing, use whip attachment for your mixer or whisk. Okay. So those are the mixing methods we have in baking. So I hope na na-review nyo sila at nakinig talaga kayo because you'll have to remember them because you're going to answer your activities onto your module. Wala yung mga answers key. Next, we have 5 different types of baking. First, what is the first one? Let's have Jomashi Alonzo. What is oven baking?
The most common form of baking relying on an oven to trap heat in an enclosed space with the dough or
Okay, oven baking, the most common form of baking. So in here, from the name itself, you're going to use an oven. Gagamit ka ng oven in baking. Next, steam baking. A common form of baking in the UK. Steaming and traps heat using a small amount of water in the tight-fitting lid and pan to cook baked goods from crumpets to cake. So, kanina, gagamit ka ng oven. For example, gagawa ka ng moist chocolate cake. But you do not have your oven. Is it possible for you to bake or to have your chocolate cake? Still, yes. You can steam it. Okay? For example, yung mga puto. Sino kumakain ng puto dyan? Yung puto kutsinta, ganon. So, those puto are being steamed. Siopaw, ni-steam din sila. Okay? Next, hot stone baking. Let's have Andre Katakyan.
Hot
Andre,
stone baking, a method of baking that uses a hot stone to evenly distribute high heat into breads and other baked goods.
okay, so hot stone baking, a method of baking that uses a hot stone to evenly distribute high heat into breads and other baked goods. So in other countries, this is very popular, okay? So gumagamit sila ng mga stone para mag-bake. So sinasabi nila na parang iba yung lasa, iba yung texture ng baked products kapag gumamit ka ng hot stone. Next, hot ash baking. A primitive form of baking all over a bed of fiery ash typically used to cook flatbreads and cakes. So, in other country, meron doon na isang bulkan or isang place na malapit sa isang bulkan and then nagpo-produce siya ng mainit na surfaces. Okay, so yung mga tao doon, they learn to bake into that situation. So, binabaon nila sa ash yung kanilang butter and then after a few hours, babalikan nila and then it will become a bread. Next, we have grill baking. Kayla, please read. Kayla Cabrera.
A hybrid method of cooking that begins on a grill and is finished in the oven, or vice versa, to infuse baked goods with a slightly smoked or carried flavor.
Charred flavor. Okay. Sabi dito, a hybrid method of cooking that begins on the grill and it finishes in the oven. Okay? Or vice versa, to infuse baked goods with a slightly smoked or charred flavor. Okay? For example, nagluluto ka ng steak. Okay? Yung steak, hinigrill mo na sila. And then, after grilling it for few minutes, and then ilalagay nila sa bake to cook it thoroughly. So that is grill baking. Another example, mag-grill ka na, ilalagay mo muna ang pie, for example, okay? Ang pie sa grill mo to have a charred flavor. Ano ba yung charred flavor? Hindi yung char. Okay? Charred flavor, yun yung lasang charcoal. Yung lalagyan mo siya ng charred flavor, yung black or yung grill marks, okay? And then you're going to bake them. So these are the references I use in creating this PowerPoint. So wala ito. Most of this discussion ay wala sa inyong module. So it is very important that you listen. So now, I'll be stop sharing. Then, so ito naman, nakikita niyo ba to? So, into week 1, sa ating weekly home learning plan. Okay? So, sabi dito, background information on page 3. Okay. Can you see my screen? So, punta tayo
Yes,
sa
ma'am.
page 3. So, ito yung diniscuss ko kanina na part na to. Okay. So, we're going, sabi dito sa inyong weekly home learning plan. Ay, wala. Try answering activities 1 and 2 on pages 4 to 5 to check if you were able to answer the exercises correctly. Refer to the key for correction on page 8. So let's see here. Ito yung activity 1. Nakikita nyo? Can you see the activity 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So sabi dito, match the items from column B to the items in column A. Write the letter of your answer on the blank provided before each number. So this is 5 points. So you have to start. Let's answer this, okay? Anong sagot sa letter A? Ano yung picture niyan? Who can answer? Okay. Andrea Lozano. You can raise your hand. May ano dyan? May...
Ma'am, letter B,
Okay.
cutting.
Okay, very good. It's letter B, it's cutting in. Bakit cutting in? Kasi it is using, the picture is using a dough cutter. Okay, yun yung ginagamit natin in cutting the dough. Number 2. Yan, lapit natin. Ayan, number 2. Ano yung picture na to?
Steering.
Steering.
O, beating.
Is it steering or is it beating? Ha? Sino yan? Beating. So this is beating. Ano yung binibit niya?
Whip. Ay,
Binibit niya yung... Okay, this one is beating. So you are beating an egg white. So it's letter A. Number 3. On this picture, is it beating, cutting in, sifting, steering, or whipping?
Steering.
steering po, ma'am.
Yes. Bakit steering, Charles? Bakit steering ang sagot? You can put your answers into our chat box sa mga hindi nakakasagot. Bakit steering? Kasi gumagamit siya ng
Spatula.
spatula or wooden spoon in mixing. Number 4, you can put your answers into our chat box, okay? Number 4, ano to?
Sift.
Ralph,
Shifting po, ma'am.
bakit sifting, Ralph?
Gumagamit po ng ano, ma'am.
Ng? Anong ginagamit niya kapag sifting?
Wait lang.
Yung iba, anong sagot nyo pag ilagay sa chat box?
Strainer, ma'am. Device strainer.
Pwedeng strainer. And other term is sifter. Sifting, from the word sifting, it's sifter, okay?
Para
Bakit
mahiwalay yung
tayo
buo-buo, ma'am.
Yes, para mahiwalay ang buo-buo. Others? Other reason, bakit tayo nagsisift ng flour or other dry ingredients?
To make smooth, ma'am.
Para
To
mag
make smooth. Ano?
The
Para
texture,
pinong-
First, we sift our... Okay, so para maalis yung mga dumi-dumi, para ma-moisten yung texture, para ma-mix all together ang ating mga ingredients. So lastly, number 5.
Whipping.
Whipping.
Okay, so gumagamit siya ng paddle attachment ng hand mixer. Okay? So I hope na naintindihan nyo activity number 1. And let's go to activity number 2. So sabi dito, compare and contrast instructions using a Venn diagram, differentiate baking techniques from mixing methods. So ano yung mga mixing methods na discuss natin kanina?
Stirring, beating, yung ba
Folding, kneading, sifting, stirring, whipping.
Okay, we have beating, we have blending,
blending.
cleaning, cooking, folding, kneading, and sifting, stirring, and whipping. So those are the examples of mixing methods in baking. Kapag baking techniques, ano naman yan?
Oven baking, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so what are the similarities of the two? Bakit kailangan nating pag-aralan ng baking techniques and mixing methods? Why do we need to study? Bakit natin kailangan i-discuss bago tayo mag-bake? Bakit kailangan natin i-discuss ang mixing method?
Para alam mo yung gagawin, ma'am, kapag nag-bake. Kapag nag-try ka na nag-bake, ma'am, or nag-umpisa ka na ng simple business.
Okay. Sino yon?
Dalin, ma'am.
Dalin. Okay. So sabi mo, bakit kailangan pag-aralan yung dalawa?
Para po pag nag-umpisa ka ng mag-business, alam mo po yung gagawin mo kapag mag-bake ka na.
Okay. So, very good. It is not enough, no, na alam mo yung recipe. It is not enough na may gamit ka. It is also not enough na may ingredients ka. Bakit? You have to know the basics. You have to know the mixing methods and baking methods. For example, sinabi sa recipe dust, hindi mo naman alam yung dust. Alam mo yung dust alikabok, pero yung dust in baking is different. Okay? Does it make sense? So,
yes, ma'am.
nasagutan natin yun. So, enter your weekly home learning plan. Sabi ko dito, answer guide questions in page 6. So, let's go to page 6. So, ito, 5 points each. So, this is 3. So, it is 15 points. For week 1, ito lang isasubmit nyo sa akin. Okay? Is that clear? So, itong activities 1 and 2, ginawa natin to, sinagutan na natin to, so you're not gonna submit them to me. So, yung isasubmit nyo sa akin, ito lang, sagot nyo sa guide questions. Naintindihan? From numbers 1, 2, and 3. Okay?
Sa week 1.
Yes, for week 1. Kailan isasubmit ang sagot? Next week, Wednesday. Okay? Sa submission, yun yung submission day natin. Okay? Naintindihan?
Yes, ma'am.
Naintindihan ba mga bata?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so answer guide questions on page 6. 5 points each. So clarity, 2 points, content, 2 points, and cleanliness, 1 point. Bakit kailangan ng cleanliness? Datang kalkal manok Ken, sa mas na yung susulat na.
Ako po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Waral. Pamasan mo.
Omsim, ma'am.
Sige.
Ma'am, sa long pad isasagutan yan, ma'am?
Yes, sa long pad. Kahit wag na yung yellow pad, kahit yung kulay puti lang na pang grade 10, I think.
Okay po, ma'am.
Pwede na yon. Lagyan nyo ng pangalan. Kasi pag di nyo nalagyan ng pangalan, ako ang maglalagay ng pangalan. No? Malinaw ba mga bata?
Opo, ma'am.
Yes,
Opo,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yun lang yung sasabihin ko sa akin for week 1. So, next week, Tuesday, we will meet for week 2 discussion. And then on Wednesday, next week, you're going to submit your output in here. So, lalagyan mo ng pangalan, kung anong section mo, at syempre, lalagyan mo rin yung questions dito para alam ko naman kung ano yung chinecheck ko. Naintindihan? Is it
Yes
clear?
po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes po.
So sana may natutunan kayo at this moment. May tanong ba kayo?
Wala po.
Wala po.
Si Andrea po, ma'am, may tanong po siya, ma'am.
Anong tanong ni Andrea?
Pwede daw po sa yellow pad.
Kung walang available, pwedeng pag-checkan. Charot. Okay lang naman kung ano.
Sige po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Ano pang tanong? Tanong na dito. Huwag kayo nagtatanong ng this oras ng gabi. Ha?
ML.
Nanggigigil ako sa mga nagtatanong ng this oras ng gabi.
Ma'am, ML daw po sabi ni Court.
Ano yan?
Ma'am, weekly yan po ba yung passing?
Yeah, weekly.
Ma'am, sa week 1 po, ma'am ba? Sa next Wednesday na po yung passing.
Yes, ma'am.
Oo, next Wednesday. Anong day ba yan para maging clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All subject na po nun, ma'am.
Sabi po ng
Oo.
ML.
Hindi lang sa akin.
Okay po, ma'am.
So, next week, it's 22. Okay na ba? Malinaw sa inyo?